Now, if you're a Honda fan worth your salt or a Type R enthusiast, you know all about the new Honda Civic Type R coming out next year. But just in case you've been living under a rock for the past 6 months, here is a quick recap. Honda revealed a prototype concept car, which is said to be very close to production in terms of design. This car will be the first Type R officially sold in the United States, and it will replace the current FK2 Type R in Europe. Though this isn't the last we've heard of FK2, there is an announcement imminent in 2017 for something that I'm not at liberty to share with you at the moment, but it's certainly something Type R fans will be interested in. Now, not that long ago, we did a video on the 2018 Subaru WRX STI where we sort of speculated what we'd like to see in it and also what was likely to come of it whenever it hits the road. And I wanted to do the same sort of thing with the Type R. But firstly, I have to apologise for this man flu that I've got at the moment. I'm basically at death's door, and if I get through this entire video without something leaking out of my nose, eyes, mouth, ears, I will class it as a success. But less about that and more about the Type R. So, Honda haven't actually announced anything solid on the car as of yet. Short of the design concept that we're told that is close to production, there's no facts or figures available, but there's best guesses and also what we'd quite like to see on the car. So I'll tell you what, let's kick off with what Type R enthusiasts and certainly myself would like to see the Type R become, this new generation car. I'd love to see it punch well above its weight as it has done previously, but I'd also like it to join the ranks of what we're now dubbing hyper hatches, and they're sort of performance cars based on compact machines. All-wheel drive is usually quite a standard feature on these, and around about 350 brake horsepower is of the current breed. If Honda could incorporate all-wheel drive, that VTEC magic, and maybe a little bit of tech from the NSX, I think the Type R stands a real chance of being head, shoulders, knees and toes above everything else. But here's where the reality check comes in. The FK2 Honda Civic Type R in Europe that we've had has had a relatively short lifespan, or should I say will have a relatively short lifespan, as the next car is imminent. And that car had a lot of development work on parts and fine-tuning the setup for obviously that all-important Nürburgring lap time record that it held. And that's where the business element comes in. The company has to see a return on investment in what they have produced. And with such a short lifespan, it makes sense that a lot of these parts are going to be carried over into the new car. Now that's no bad thing, because the 2-litre turbocharged VTEC engine in the FK2 is sublime. It has so much torque. Really, once it gets up and going, obviously front-wheel drive, you're not going to have the greatest launch off the line, but once it's rolling, it really surges on, and it's certainly impressive. I've been fortunate enough to take one around the Nürburgring, and it's just so at home on one of the world's most challenging circuits. I think Honda are definitely going to be going for a very focused setup with this new car, but obviously it has to have a broader appeal because it's being sold all over the world and not just in Europe this time. But going back to the all-wheel drive debacle, I think that this drivetrain is going to be relatively carried over from the previous car. Like I say, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You've got a very clever limited slip differential and something called dual axis suspension, which is a clever system in combination with the limited slip diff that enables a lack of torque steer. It's very impressive, and the Type R, despite being 306 brake horsepower currently, has very little in the way of torque steer. Speaking of power, actually, 306 brake horsepower currently, I think it's a fair guesstimation for that to rise to about 330, 340 brake horsepower, but it all depends upon how they're going to channel that through the front wheels. Another bit of evidence for the front-wheel drive argument is that a few colleagues who've seen the car up close stuck their head underneath. Now, whilst that could just be a rolling chassis or something just to place the concept car body on, they did say that specific model that they were showing, there was no drive line to the rear wheels, so it's quite likely going to be a front-wheel drive car. Being based upon the 10th generation Honda Civic Hatchback, the interior architecture is going to be broadly similar, same infotainment and things, but we are going to see some nice racing seats. Again, something that I think is being carried over from the FK2 Type R. Also in the donation box from the FK2 appear to be those Continental tyres, very sticky set by the current car standards, and they were bespoke to that car. We'd obviously expect the carbon fibre trinkets to be dropped. That's quite expensive to put on a mass-produced car. But that rear wing definitely will be staying in some form or another. Now, lots of people have asked me in various hot hatchback reviews and things we've done, particularly when they're front-wheel drive, why does it have to have a massive rear wing on the back? Well, that's all to do with distributing the downforce evenly. Whilst it is front-wheel drive and you want to push those front wheels hard into the ground, it means that whenever you turn in for a corner, all that downforce is up at the front. and it means that the back end is going to be very loose. So you need something to evenly distribute the weight and balance the force that's pushing down on the car, hence that rear wing, which gives you a nice even keel and keep the car nice and flat as you go into a set of bends. Price-wise, I think it's going to be very similar to what the current car is. So if it's in your market, obviously look up the prices for there. In the UK, the current car starts at just a smidge under £30,000. And for those looking for a comparison with rivals, it costs just a little bit less than what a Ford Focus RS does currently. Whilst there's still a lot to speculate on at the moment with the new Honda Civic Type R hatchback, it's a safe bet that we're going to be hearing more throughout the year, ready for its launch later in 2017. That's my take on the new Honda Civic Type R, but what do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's nice to get a conversation started down there. Do you want it to be all-wheel drive? Are you happy with a front-wheel drive car? Do you think it can still compete as a front-wheel drive car against the current all-wheel drive hyper hatchbacks? Let me know what you think, and also, what would your dream Type R be, in terms of equipment, in terms of what it had, in terms of styling? One thing is for certain, there's a lot of anticipation for this car. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for all of the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For breaking news and written reviews, visit www.insidelane.co.uk.